Now, how is Keir Starmer perceived in somewhere like Newport?
Absolutely despised. Quite frankly, everyone wants him gone. He should have gone months ago. I said it, public have said it, and if you go on any doorsteps, the public will tell you themselves they want him gone, and they want him gone weeks and months ago, in fact.
I think it's really important that Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage are not on the ballot paper. You know, their names will not appear on the ballot paper here in Wales. This is an important election for people to, and it's going to be about who's going to represent their local communities in the Senedd.
Usually Labour. Oh, Plaid, yeah, we've heard of you. No, Labour. And that switch has happened probably over the last 12 months or so.
Well, the Starmer drama needs to end. It's just U-turn after U-turn, poor judgment after poor judgment.
The election to the Welsh Parliament is going to have reverberations far beyond Wales, because this is being billed as a referendum on Keir Starmer and his government. The people of Wales have been affected by things such as winter fuel allowance, and now going to have the chance to send a message to the Prime Minister. And we're going to be meeting some of the people on the front line of this election who hope to gain seats in the Senedd. It's a battle for power which could send a message out to the rest of not just the UK, but the world, that Wales, one of the places in the UK that is so pivotal to the creation of Labour, is now under new management. There's been polling which shows Plaid Cymru and Reform UK tied for the top position. I mean, is there an earthquake going on in Wales at the moment?
I think it's always really important, every election, that every vote matters, and you're asking people to put their trust in you. And I think that's something that I value, going out speaking to people in my community face to face. I think it's really, really important. I think for residents, it's about who's got the experience in government as well, you know, because I think there are lots of parties who are promising things, for example, whether it's Plaid Cymru and Reform with their division, you know, and they're trying to divide on whether it's put neighbour against neighbour in terms of Reform's programme, or also Plaid Cymru who really want independence.
Is this a chance just to make that protest vote?
I think it's really important that Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage are not on the ballot paper. You know, their names will not appear on the ballot paper here in Wales. This is an important election for people to, and it's going to be about who's going to represent their local communities in the Senedd. And I think that's the key message.
The Welsh Parliament, the Senedd, is the absolute nerve central of democracy in Wales. It's far more powerful than an English council. It truly is its own parliament. And this year, there's going to be 96 members elected, more than the 60 that there have been in the past. It has complete control of health, of education, of economic development policy, transport. It truly does shape the future of this nation. We've been out and about for about 2.5 hours. We're on our way to see Natasha Asker, the Welsh Conservative candidate. And this is actually the first election poster we've seen. What does that tell you about whether the election is actually on the tip of the tongues of the electorate itself? And that's going to be one of the key issues at this election, because turnout in these elections has traditionally been far lower than a Westminster election. Now, it's been presented very much as a two-horse race between Reform and Plaid Cymru, but do the Conservatives have a chance? Because we saw some polling figures which look quite scary for Conservatives.
I would say absolutely. And to be honest with you, I'm quite fed up of everyone saying it's a two-horse race, because what it's doing is creating a huge misconception amongst the public. There are 6 seats up for grabs, and there is no way, no how Plaid and Reform can get all 6 seats. So we've accepted and know that they're probably going to get 2 each, but the remaining seats are up for grabs. And I'm very much counting on the fact that we'll be able to bring in some Conservative members here in Newport and Islwyn.
Now, Labour presents Wales very much as a territory that's part of their DNA.
Yes.
Yeah. But what's happened? Because for the first time in more than a century, it looks like they're not going to be the biggest party.
Well, I think the love for Labour is gone. I think it's safe to say that Wales has been run by Labour, as well as Plaid, for the past 27 years. People are fed up of the healthcare system. They're fed up of how educational standards are going downhill. They're fed up of money being frittered away on vanity projects. We've got the M4 behind us. never had a relief road, which we've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on. We haven't personally, we've wanted it to be done.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Labour have spent money buying caravan parks, research and design, and there's no road to, well, there's no M4, unfortunately. On top of that, we've seen money being spent on Farms for Friends, Cardiff Airport, and just things that people don't see and don't want, quite frankly. People in Wales need to have the issues that matter to them dealt with quickly. Healthcare, education, transport, potholes, council tax. These are the issues that people really are worried about and concerned about. And those are the things that we have solutions for.
Now, how is Keir Starmer perceived in somewhere like Newport?
Absolutely despised. Quite frankly, everyone wants him gone. He should have gone months ago. I said it, public have said it. And if you go on any doorsteps, the public will tell you themselves they want him gone. And they want him gone weeks and months ago, in fact.
Wow. Why is that?
Because quite frankly, he's proven himself to be a really weak leader. He's someone who supported Peter Mandelson. Like I said to you previously, he's done many U-turns on policies. Winter fuel allowance has been one example. But he's just incompetent on so many levels. And if that's your leadership, that doesn't set a very great precedent for the party as well as the members that we have around here. So I think the love for Labour officially in Wales has gone.
Now we're going to be meeting Dan Thomas, who's the leader of Reform UK in Wales. He's the man who wants to be the first non-Labour First Minister. What's happened to Wales though? Why is a country that's got such a proud work ethic and has been at the heart of innovation now in so many areas at the bottom of the wages levels and people are struggling? What's gone wrong?
Well, sadly, we've seen a decline in major industry in Wales over the centuries and over the decades under both Labour and Conservative governments. And you're quite right, the Transporter Bridge is a symbol of our rich industrial past. Even the steel that was that makes up some of the bridge was milled locally. Some of it came from England, though. Yeah. And again, that's another example of the steel industry that's completely declined. I think more recently, it's due to energy prices.
Yes.
And it's just becoming very expensive now for heavy industry to operate in the UK and in Wales. And just skills. You know, we're not putting our children through those technical colleges anymore where they can become engineers and go and do, you know, those kind of jobs. So it's a mixture of things, and we want to address that. Reform's very keen to get these skills back and get industry going again in Wales. But we have to accept it's going to be a very different kind of industry to what it was in the past.
If you come first in Wales, that must have a galvanising effect on the rest of the party looking ahead to the next Westminster election.
Yes.
And the possibility of Nigel Farage as Prime Minister.
Well, naturally, absolutely, it is. It shows our party getting stronger and stronger in all parts of the United Kingdom and winning seats from different parties, and that's the beauty of Reform. We do appeal to across the political spectrum. We win council seats from Labour and Conservatives and the Lib Dems, and in Plaid Cymru in Wales we've won council seats that were previously held by Plaid Cymru. So and that's the thing, I think people are seeing that our pragmatism. I don't think we're in a world of kind of left or right anymore. We're in a world of pragmatism, who's got the best ideas, and that's what Reform is offering.
What message do you think people are going to send from Wales to Downing Street?
Well, the Starmer drama needs to end. It's just U-turn after U-turn, poor judgment after poor judgment. We're tired of it. They won a big majority. We were expecting a strong government to get on with an agenda that we don't agree with, but nonetheless, you expected them to be strong and you know, rebuilding Britain. But that's not happened. And I think coming back to Wales, that's what we want to try and achieve, is a strong government in Wales to get things done. So there is a lot to be said for the results in Cardiff and what it means for the rest of the UK.
Another reason why this is such a fascinating election is that if Plaid Cymru become the #1 party, if Rhun ap Iorwerth, its leader, becomes First Minister, well, then you're going to suddenly see lots of people saying, is the United Kingdom ultimately about to fall apart? We've lost an empire, is the UK also about to go? Because you'll have Plaid Cymru, a pro-independence party, empowering Cardiff Bay, the SNP, which of course took Wales to a referendum on independence in 2014, in power in Edinburgh, and in Northern Ireland, Sinn Féin in power. That's going to suddenly change the dynamics of the United Kingdom, because if people in every nation except England are unhappy with the status quo, well then Keir Starmer is going to have to give people a reason to stay together. So did you ever envisage that there'd be a situation where Plaid Cymru is going into a Senedd election in first place in the polls?
Well, it's quite historic, isn't it? I've been campaigning now for the past 20 odd years probably in different places across South Wales valleys, and it's usually Labour. Oh, Plaid, yeah, we've heard of you. No, Labour. And that switch has happened probably over the last 12 months or so.
That recently?
It's after the general election, when so much was promised by the Labour Party for change, and people were voting for it in their droves. You know, in the general election, they had a fantastic result, but then haven't delivered.
And do you think Keir Starmer can survive if Labour loses Wales on his watch?
I think he's hauled below the waterline. You know, Liz Savile-Roberts has already called for him to go, our leader in Westminster. Other party leaders have called for him to resign. You know, it's been nearly a comedy of errors, but it just seems to be one thing after another, and the latest stuff with Mandelson.
Yes, how's that going across?
People are incredulous that it's actually happening. So I think that I think he's really not coming across very well. And when you look at, you know, how many times has he visited Wales during this election campaign? That tells you a lot about how he will go down.
We've heard from some of the men and women who are fighting with every last ounce of energy in their bodies to try and become a member of the Welsh Parliament, the Senedd. But this is an election which is being so closely watched from Westminster. For Kemi Badenoch, she doesn't want to see the Tories wiped out. And for Keir Starmer, it must terrify him the thought of being the Labour leader who lost Wales. And that would be a prospect which would send absolute terror into the heart of his MPs. If they think that they're going to lose England next and the rest of the UK in the general election, well, then they might start looking in earnest for a new leader.